Well, China is also feeling the strain of that global energy crunch, with coal in particular. China now says it has increased its daily coal production by over 1 million tons in an effort to keep the lights on and businesses running. China has been battling widespread power cuts as coal becomes harder to find. A combination of supply bottlenecks and strict emissions targets have put the crimp on the much-needed fuel. All right, and for more on that, I'm joined by DW Business's Clifford Coonan, who has a long history covering China. Clifford, good to see you as always. We're seeing this at the moment that COP26 is going on. More and more countries making commitments to move away from fossil fuels. China appears to be embracing it and yet also says that it wants to be out entirely by 2060. What's going on?
Well, I think, Stephen, what we're seeing here is very much mixed signals. I mean, China isn't even really there. I mean, Xi Jinping hasn't left Beijing in nearly 2 years.
At the conference, you mean? They're not
at the conference, yes. Yeah. I mean, Xi Jinping hasn't left Beijing in nearly 2 years. And his focus is very much domestic. And I think when it comes to climate change, it's also very much a domestic focus, that climate change is an issue in China because of pollution in the cities. So they're definitely trying to clean up their act and get the cities clean and combat pollution. And then globally, China has always positioned itself as a climate change combat champion. But recently, because of the energy crunch, which is affecting the whole world, it's been felt particularly keenly in China. And in order to keep the economy growing, which is central to their efforts, they need to boost. They need to find energy somewhere, which means they've gone back to coal, even though it's dirty and polluting and has all that, the ramifications of a turnaround.
This is all about domestic harmony as well. I mean, you need to keep those lights on at home to ensure political stability, especially in a country as large as China. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question. And so that's why there's sort of these mixed messages. I mean, they're keeping the target there. They say this is a short-term measure, that they'd be able to catch up later. But the focus is very much on keeping energy, keeping the lights on, as you say, and keeping the factories open in China.
I want to ask you about something that happened over the weekend, the US and the EU throwing away those steel tariffs they had against each other and agreeing to do a joint carbon assessment of steel. And that means basically, as I understand it, increasing the options to trade carbon-free steel, or at least carbon-low steel, with one another. That seems to be aimed at China. Is this a way of sort of forcing their hand on some of these environmental issues? And if so, what kind of response is that likely to get from Beijing?
Well, it's very specifically focused on China, and they even mentioned dirty Chinese steel. China is the biggest steel producer in the world. Over half of the world's steel stockpiles are Chinese. If you strip away the language here, what you see is that basically this is like a tax. It's like a form of tariff, saying that if you're going to send steel, then if it's got to be clean steel. So the Chinese are going to react. We'll have to see how they react, but it's certainly that form of tax.
All right. Clifford Coonan, DW Business, thank you very much.